Hey everyone, it's William with Scamming Scammers Action and the YouTube channel Scamming Scammers. We're going to do our monthly live Q&A. I didn't realize that this is the last day of June. It went really quickly, and usually we do our Q&A the last week of the month, and we let time get away from us. So we're going to do one tonight. So while you guys know, I'm having a severe thunderstorm. So if I disappear, I probably won't come back for the night because we were having really bad thunderstorms here, and the power has been kind of blipping out a little bit. So if the feed does stop, just to let you guys know, it's because we've had a bad thunderstorm here, and my power is out. So with that being said, we're going to start our Q&A. We had a lot of you write in with a lot of great questions. I'm going to try to keep this Q&A roughly a half an hour. If it goes over, great. But as I said, we're having a really bad thunderstorm here, so if I disappear, you know why. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm going to let everyone kind of get into the chat, and we'll get started in a few minutes here. Hi to everybody in the chat. If you do have a question and you'd like it answered, it's thundering really bad here, just write it in the chat. I'll try to answer it. And then we're going to try to do, a lot of you have been asking for our YouTube live videos when we talk to scammers. I'm going to try and do one sometime later this week, if possible. I'll let you guys know when I go on there. But hello to everybody, and thanks for joining us for our Q&A. As I said, it's the last day of the month. So we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. So I want to start off. We get this question quite often, and I wanted to address it with some people. One of the biggest questions we get asked is, if you're talking to a profile and you Google search or you TinEye search the photos and you get no results, we've had a lot of people come to us and say, hey, I got no results on the photos, so the guy must be real. Well, that's not necessarily true. A lot of scammers, and we've kind of covered this on our page before, a lot of scammers will actually just use photos of people that are not commonly used on fake profiles, or they'll use photos of people that aren't celebrities or well-known speakers, or someone that's not a real estate agent or has a website. So what happens is a scammer will steal a photo of some random guy or girl. It could be your neighbor. It could be, Joe from Arkansas barbecuing with his kids. Scammers will steal those photos from open social media pages, Instagram pages, wherever, and they use them. And what happens is when you put that into Google search or any kind of TinEye or Yandex search, it doesn't necessarily come up in results. But you have to keep in mind that that doesn't mean that the person you're talking to is legit. It could just mean that they're using a stolen photo that hasn't been used very often, or we don't know who the person is, so it doesn't show up in search results. So what we tell you is, if you're talking to somebody online and you Yahoo search, you Google search their photo and nothing comes up, look at the big picture. What is the person telling you about themselves? Are they a widow? Do they have one child? Are they an engineer? Are they in the army? Are they deployed? Are they buying and selling gold in Nigeria, but they're from Texas or California City? The most important thing you need to do is just listen to what the person's telling you. Listen to the whole story. Don't just rely on the photo alone to give you the answer to whether they're a scammer or not, whether it's a fake profile. You have to look at what they're saying to you, what their story is. What are they asking of you? Are they refusing to video chat? Are they telling you that they need help with a financial issue or a bank account? Those are things you need to look for. And that's the most important things that you need to look for, not just the photo. So don't depend on the results of a photo alone. So I hope that answers some of your guys' questions. You've been coming to the inbox about that. Hi to Anne. Much love to you too. She's in the chat. So if you have a question for Anne, she's in the chat as well. Pauline, you're right. They're using new pictures. They are. For years, scammers have used photos of like Jeffrey Miller, Yuha Burtis, Dr. Pinto, Dr. Samadi. But now they're using photos of, like I said, Joe from Arkansas, who is a no-name person who works at Walmart. They're using photos of just everyday people. And unfortunately, it's working because people are falling for these types of scams, and they're falling for these photos, and they're doing the search results and getting no results. So they're believing these fake profiles. So like I said, keep it in mind. What are they telling you? What are they asking of you? And that's the most important thing you need to look at. So hi to everybody that's in the chat. I appreciate it. Hi, Rose. Hi, Linda. So we're going to start off. One of our regulars asked a question, and we get asked this quite often, and it happens a lot. Why would someone want me to open a Coinbase account? What is it? How does it work? So a lot of scammers nowadays are not telling you to go to Western Union and send money. They're telling you, open a Coinbase account for me. So what is a Coinbase account? Coinbase is basically a website that deals in cryptocurrency. So we're dealing with Bitcoins and various online currency. And what you do is you sign up for a Coinbase account. You sign up with your name, your phone number, your address. Sometimes they ask for your social security number, depending on what kind of account. And they also ask you to link your bank account to your Coinbase account. So what happens is the scammers ask you to open these accounts for them in your name and your information. And then they'll say, oh, I'm going to put some money in it. And what they do is they put Bitcoins and other cryptocurrency into this Coinbase account. Then they take that money and link it to your bank account and put it in your bank account. Then the scammer will often ask you to withdraw that money and send so much over or transfer money to another person. Basically, you need to think of a Coinbase account as you would a bank account. It's the same concept, except you're using online currency. So you have a scammer that's running scams and they're getting paid in Bitcoin. They're taking that Bitcoin, they're putting it into your Coinbase account, and then they're transferring that money to your bank account, and they're using you as a money mule. So if you're talking to somebody online and you've never met them in person, you don't know who they are, they're just a random person you met online that might try to romance you, whatever, and they ask you to open a Coinbase account, block them. They're a scammer. We recently had a lady that opened a Coinbase account, and I told her the profile was fake, and the scammer had put over $10,000 in Bitcoin money into her account. And anything over a certain amount is going to be a large amount of fraud. And I told her, you are responsible for that account because you opened that account. And oftentimes when scammers have you open these accounts, after you open them, they ask for the password, they ask for the email, and then they block you and they lock you out of that account. So they're basically using your name, your information, your credit to open these accounts, and then they're locking you out of those accounts, and they're just using your information as a vessel to commit wire fraud. And when it comes down to it, if it's investigated, if the fraud is reported, guess what? You're responsible because it's in your name, your information, and you open the account. So never, never, never open any kind of bank account, Bitcoin account, I don't care, Coinbase, whatever. If someone asks you to do that, they're a scammer, straight out, and they're using you as a money mule. So keep that in mind. Don't ever open any kind of accounts for anybody online. I don't care what it is. Next question we had, it's from a potential victim. I've been talking to a man online who says he's working in Turkey. He says he needs help as he's an American, but he said once you enter Turkey, your bank account is frozen. There are no romance scammers in Turkey, right? So he must be real. No, he's fake. There's romance scammers. There's scammers in every country. And this comes back to all of us remembering that there's not, scammers are not centrally located in Nigeria. They're not centrally located in Ghana or West Africa. There's scammers all over. There's scammers in Italy, the US. There's a lot of them in Turkey. There's a lot of them in the UAE and Saudi Arabia and all of these countries. And a lot of times we find out scammers, particularly working in Turkey, the Turkish scammers are doing the same thing that the West Africans are doing. They're doing romance scams. They're doing wire fraud scams. And also keep in mind that there's a lot of migrants working in Turkey from other countries that are scamming from Turkey. So as far as a bank account being frozen when you go to Turkey, no. I've personally never been to Turkey. I've been very close. I've been to Bulgaria. I've been to the Balkans. Your bank account does not freeze when you leave your country. If anything, there's some countries, I mean, even I just recently went to Canada and they wanted to make sure I had money in my bank before they'd even let me in there. So it's actually the opposite. You do have a working account when you travel internationally. Your credit cards work when you travel. And you need to keep that in mind. If someone's telling you that the minute that they hit another country that, their bank account stops working, that's a scam. And anyone that travels internationally, especially somebody that's in business, they know to activate their credit cards and let them know they're traveling and things like that. So if anyone's telling you that they're, trapped in a country and their bank account's not working, it's a scammer almost always. Next question we have, why would a scammer want to know my Verizon login information? The man I'm talking to online, he said he wants to pay my bill for me. That happens a lot. What happens is scammers will want to log into your Verizon, your AT&T, your cell phone, your mobile phone account. And the reason why, they don't want to pay your bill for you. They want to log in, and once they log in with your password and your information, they will order themselves some brand new iPhones. They will order themselves a phone plan. And a lot of times what happens is they order these things, and it takes usually 14 to 30 days for the bill to generate for what they've ordered. So you'll have a scammer that'll go online, go into your account, and order himself a new iPhone for $1,000. And what happens is he gets the iPhone shipped to either a mule in the States that he's working with or a victim, and tells that victim, hey, I got a phone coming. Can you pick it up and mail it to a place like India, Africa, wherever? And then 2 weeks later, a month later, you get the bill for $1,000 phone. And by then that scammer's long gone, but he has that phone. And he can activate the phone with any phone plan. Other times they will pay your bill. They'll pay your bill with a stolen credit card to gain your trust and show you, look, honey, I paid your $200 phone bill. And what happens is in about 2 weeks to 30 days, that stolen credit card will be reported, it'll be investigated, and then that money that he used on that stolen credit card to pay your phone bill will come back, and you'll be charged with fraud, and the scammer will be long gone. He'll have already gotten money from you and gained your trust or whatever. So like I've said before in the past, real people, legit people, don't pay your bills for you. I don't care who they are. Nobody has ever paid my bills for me. I've never paid someone's bills for them. Normal people don't do that. Now, if you've met somebody in person and you're in a relationship, that might be a different story. But as far as online, if you're talking to somebody online and they offer to pay your bills and you've just met them, it's a scam. It's 100% scam. And they just want to gain access to your financial records. And keep in mind, a lot of us have mobile phone bills online where we log in and we pay the bill on auto pay with our credit card. Well, that information is stored on your account. So if you give a scammer your password and he goes into your account, he can get your credit card as well. So keep that in mind. Don't give people access to your bill pay. Normal people don't pay your bills like that. Rose has a question. How possible for one to call on Facebook Messenger even if you're not connected? A lot of times it depends on what service they're using. Like if they use Facebook Messenger Lite, LTE, they can call anybody. They can go into Facebook and say, hey, there's Rose. I don't know her, but I'm going to call her. And they click on your profile, they click on Messenger, and they just hit the call button. Lightning just hit my window. So it depends on what service they're using, but it's really, really easy for scammers to message you and call you. Some Facebook apps, some Messenger apps, they don't work that way. You actually have to be a friend with the person before they can call you, but certain Facebook Messenger apps in the Google Play Store allow you to bypass that feature, so they can just call you at random. They don't even have to know who you are. A lot of scammers will just look for female names. They'll type in, I'll give you an example, the name Allison into Facebook search, into Messenger, and they'll start calling every Allison they can find until one of them answers, and they try to romance scam you that way. So if you're getting random calls, there's actually a feature on your Messenger and on your phone where you can shut off video and calls, and I can post a tutorial link on how to do that, but you can actually just, like mine shut off so that you can't call me at random on my Facebook. So that's a good way to bypass the scammers from calling you. So, next question we have. The man I'm talking to, I get no results in image search. His name doesn't come up on any scam sites, and he hasn't asked for money, but he refuses to video chat, and he said his company is having a problem with some parts for his ship. How can I know if he's a scammer? Don't they ask for money right away? They don't. They don't ask for money right away. And too many of us get into this notion that, they think scammers are going to ask for money right away, and they don't. Some of them will talk to you for weeks, months, even years. I've had victims, and Anne's had victims that she's talked to. They were talking to this person for 3, 4, even 5 years before they asked for money. And the reason for that is Scammers will have 5 or 10 victims at one time on the hook. They'll be romance scamming 5 or 10 people at one time, and they put the other ones on the back burner. And a lot of scammers, the most dangerous ones are the ones that wait. So if you're talking to somebody online and you've been talking to them for 2 years and they haven't asked for money, but they've spent those 2 years gaining your trust, your friendship, your relationship, your romance, those are the scammers that are going to hit you for $10,000, $20,000 in 2 years. And those are the scammers that plot and plan, and they take their time. So if you're talking to somebody online and they haven't asked you for money, but, oh, there's a problem on my ship, they're setting up a storyline to try and to scam you. And a lot of scammers will take their time. Instead of just asking for money really quickly, they'll take their time and they'll say, oh, I'm doing good today. And then, a couple weeks later, oh, my son's sick. My ship's got a problem. They'll come up with all different kinds of excuses, and they play out a storyline. You have to think of it like a soap opera. Scammers are playing a part, and they're playing a role. And so that role will start off with, they're a great guy, everything's great, they're rich, they have all these wonderful houses and cars and blah, blah, blah. Oh, now something happened to me. I need some money. So just remember that. And if you're talking to somebody online and all of a sudden they mention they're having a problem, see that as a red flag. Because it's a setup to go into the money question. As far as the names, scammers make up these names, and it's a pretty bad thunderstorm outside. I've had victims come to me and they said his name is Robert Jones and he lives in Miami, Florida, and when I search I don't see nothing on him. And they'll say, why? How can we find Robert Jones? Well, the truth is there is no Robert Jones. It's a made up name. And so we've had victims come to our inbox and say, do you know anything about Bob Smith? It's a fake name. So we need more information. What's the person telling you? What are they asking of you? And that's the most important thing, that you have to look for. You have to always look at the big picture. You have to look at what they're saying to you, what they're asking of you, what their storyline is. Even if they haven't asked for money, are they telling you things like, I'm a widow with 1 child, my wife died of hair cancer, or whatever. So just remember that. And like I said before, photos, names, they don't always come up in search results. So you have to listen to what the person tells you more than anything. Next question we have. I see some people have profile pictures of objects and not their face. Does this mean these people are fake? Absolutely not. I recently had a lady come to the inbox and tell me that she thought a profile was fake. I asked her why she thought it was fake, and she told me because the person had a plant as a profile photo and not their photo. A lot of people, and smart people, don't put their profile picture all the time on their Facebook profile. And the reason for that is scammers oftentimes will go through Facebook and look for a certain criteria. They may look for, they're looking for a 50-year-old woman with blonde hair. So they'll go down the line and look for somebody like that. And they'll say, oh, there's, Sally Smith. She's got blonde hair. She looks about 50. I'm going to message her. But if you have a profile photo that is like a flower, your dog, a cartoon character, it kind of detours the scammers a little bit. They're not going to always talk to you because they're not sure. They're not sure who you are. They're not sure if you fit the criteria. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It's actually safer to not have your profile picture on your page. Personally, I change off. I'll sometimes put my photo up, sometimes I won't. But just keep in mind, if someone doesn't have their picture up as a profile photo, it doesn't mean that they're fake. It might mean that they're just smart and they're hiding from a scammer. So, or they don't want to be talked to. I mean, and it could be somebody that's married and they don't want men hitting on them. So that's another good reason. Next question we have, and I still have power here, but the weather's getting pretty bad. And this is actually a great question. It was asked just tonight. Most scammers call you honey, baby, dear, and queen. But what if they constantly call you by your name when they talk to you? And we've had this a lot. We get into this notion that scammers call you baby, honey, dear, queen. We've seen it on the chats, and we've seen some chats where the scammer calls you baby 500 times in the course of one conversation. But there are scammers, and they're quite annoying, They will say your name is Betty, and you're having a conversation with them. They'll say, "Hello, Betty. It's nice to see you. How are you today, Betty? Betty, how's the weather where you live? Have you eaten today, Betty? It's so nice to know you, Betty." And they'll use your name almost in every sentence. That is another form of grooming. It's another form of a scammer trying to gain your trust. So what will happen is it'll show the victim that this person is listening, they're paying attention, they know your name. You're not just a baby, you're a honey or a deer, you're Betty. And they're giving you your full attention. They want to speak to you. They say, "Betty, I want to know you more. Tell me about yourself, Betty." It's just another form of manipulation. It's another form of grooming. So if a scammer constantly uses your name or a fake profile, see that as a red flag as well, because most normal people, when they're having a conversation with someone, they don't use your name in almost every sentence. They don't say, "Hello, Ann. Nice to meet you today, Ann. How are you today, Ann? How are you?" It's annoying, and that's another red flag to look for as well. So don't get caught in the notion that it's always honey, baby, queen, and they can use your name quite a bit too. And a scammer that's paying attention to you will use your name. So we have a couple more questions. I'm gonna try to watch the chat at the same time. If you do have a fake profile, you bring it to the inbox. We'll try to help you sort through it. But I will say this: just keep in mind, military men, deployed military men, are not online looking for love and chatting to random women. If you're talking to somebody online and they're telling you that they're in the military and they're deployed and they're looking for love, see that as a big red flag, because most military men who are deployed and who are online, they're not chatting to women. They're not chatting to you from the war camp, the base camp. And as we said before, military guys don't need money for a leave. They don't need you to write to their commander. They don't need food. They don't need money for bullets. They don't need iTunes cards, Amazon cards. They don't need a phone. Military men are not deployed to Nigeria, breaking their phones and borrowing a phone from Mr. Oyuel who lives at the house down the street. So that's going to be a scammer. Charlotte, you're right. It's common for scammers to call you names like honey, baby. They do distract as well. If you were talking to a scammer online, or I should say a fake profile, and you've told them a little bit about yourself, and then they say, "Oh, I'm a widow. I have a 5-year-old son. My wife died 7 years ago," and you catch it, and you'll say to them, "Well, how did your wife die 7 years ago, but you have a 5-year-old son?" And they'll say, "Oh, baby, tell me more about yourself, baby. Hey, baby, I want to know more about you, honey, dear, dear, dear." And it's a distraction method. It's like a psychological warfare you're playing with these scammers, and so they'll try to distract, and it's just a way to do that. And legit people do call their partners or spouses or whatever pet names. They do, but somebody that you've just met online and you've only talked to them for half an hour and they're calling you my wife, my queen, my world, something's very wrong. So how can I know if the number is from Ghana or Nigeria or Africa? How to know if the person is fake? Well, +234, country code is Nigeria, +233 is Ghana. If you're talking to somebody online and their name is Bob Smith and they're in the Army and they give you a +234 phone number, you are more than likely talking to a Nigerian scammer. I'll post a guide to country codes. We've posted it here and there in the past, and it'll let you know what country the number comes from. How to know if the person's fake? It depends on what they're telling you. What's their story? It could be a number of things. If you have the person's profile, I will come to the inbox and we can take a look at it. Gina, what is your Facebook page and website? You're on our Facebook page right now. You're on Scamming Scammers Action on Facebook. Our YouTube channel is Scamming Scammers. You're on the page right now, so just click message at the top of the page. It'll take you to our inbox. It's anonymous and private, and you can let us know what's going on, and we will look into it as soon as this Q&A is over, and we can take a look at the person you're talking to figure out who they are. So we have one more question. I'm going to try to keep this Q&A a little bit shorter because last month it was 2 hours long. And this is an interesting question. We've had this happen to a few victims. I just got back from sending someone money at Western Union, and this pertains to MoneyGram as well. And now I'm worried I was scammed. What can I do? Okay. So you've talked to someone online, and they asked for money. So you sent them money. It's 20 minutes later, and you're thinking, oh no, this is a scam. The best thing you can do is call Western Union or call MoneyGram right away. You can Google, there's a fraud hotline. If you have the MTCN number and that money has not been picked up yet, you can cancel the transaction. And we've had some victims that have actually been able to cancel the money and get their money back. So if the money hasn't been picked up yet, you haven't gotten a notification that the money's been picked up, call Western Union, call the fraud hotline, cancel the transaction, tell them it was a scam, and you have a really good chance of getting your money back. If the money's been picked up already, the money's gone. And so at that point, you just need to file a fraud claim with Western Union just so you can give them the payment information and they can look into filing a fraud report. But too often, you have to understand that once the money is picked up, once that money's transferred and you get a notice that that money's been picked up, it's gone. You're not going to get it back. You're not going to retrieve the money. A special federal agent is not going to go get the money for you. An anti-scam page like ourselves or any of the anti-scam pages out there, they're not going to get your money back for you. It's gone. And you have to remember, scammers are thirsty. Scammers want the money, and they're going to go ahead and pick up that money quicker than anything in the world. So once you send that money and you've told the person the money's there, they might even be in line at Western Union waiting to pick it up. So keep that in mind. But if you haven't gotten a notification that it's been picked up yet, call Western Union, and you can probably get your money back before it gets picked up. Hi to everyone that's coming to the page. Good morning to you from Thailand. Thank you for coming. So yeah, that's kind of pretty much all you can do as far as with the money. We've had a lot of victims come to us and say, hey, I got contacted by an FBI person who said they can get my money back. It's not the FBI, it's a scammer. And what scammers do is they know you've been scammed for a large amount of money. They'll come back as an FBI agent or a fake police officer or a fake fraud investigator, and they'll tell you, I can get your money back for you. You just got to contact me, and it'll cost you $100. It's a scam, and it's called what's called a reload scam. It's a scam where they know you're a victim of fraud, of a scam, and they'll try to re-scam you. So keep that in mind. If you're getting contacted by law enforcement via Facebook or Instagram or any of that, it's a scam. So just always remember that. It happens quite often. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. We're trying to keep the Q&A a little short this month. It went really quickly this month, so thank you, Charlotte. I wish you were found the page earlier as well. I'm sorry that you got scammed, and sadly, people get scammed more than once. And what happens is, and we get this question quite often. They will ask questions like, I got scammed once and it happened again, and then now I keep getting friend requests from people. Why is this happening? Well, what happens is once a scammer scams you and you're a paying client, he'll take your profile link, your Instagram link, your Facebook profile, dating profile, whatever, your email address, your phone number, and they share it in groups that are run by scammers, and they say, hey, this lady paid. So they'll toss your link around to other scammers and other criminals, and they try to get your information. So, and then they'll try to scam you. So just remember that. If you got tangled up with a fake profile with a scammer, and all of a sudden now you're getting all these friend requests, they're likely the same scammer or scammer's friends trying to scam you. So it's always that way, and it's hard to get away from them. A lot of people have asked us, how do we stop scammers from messaging me with fake profiles? Just block them. And if scammers know you're not going to pay, you're not going to fall for it, they'll move on to somebody else. So just remember that. It's not forever. Just keep blocking them, and they'll move on because they're after money. They're not after a friendship. Norma, a guy who is talking to me is asking me to receive some money and buy Amazon cards because he said in Emirates that card don't have the same value because American dollar value more. This is a common scammer. I hope you understand. I know your English is fine, Norma. What it is, the Amazon cards, you're dealing with a scammer for a start. Um, the Amazon cards are like cash, and what's happening is the iTunes cards are being faded out, and Google Hangouts and places like that are being faded out. These Amazon cards are like cash to a scammer, and basically, when whatever he's told you, Norma, is just lies. It doesn't work that way. But what he's after is these Amazon cards, and what they do is they take these Amazon cards, they get them from victims, and they'll either trade them online for cash or Bitcoin if they get enough of them, or let's say you send a scammer a $100 Amazon card. What he'll go ahead and do is he'll go on Amazon and he'll say, hey, I love those brand new Nike shoes. I'm going to order me a pair of those. He'll have them shipped to another victim. And oftentimes scammers will have victims that'll accept packages for them, thinking that they're helping this soldier or helping somebody. The scammer will use your Amazon card to buy himself something. He'll have it shipped to someone in the States. That next person in the States will package those brand new shoes up or gold or whatever he bought and ship it off DHL to somewhere like Nigeria, Ghana, West Africa, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, whatever country the scammer's from. So if you've got somebody asking you for Amazon cards, think of it as somebody asking you for cash. So if they say, hey, can you send me a $100 Amazon card? It's no different than someone saying, give me $100 in cash. It's very valuable. It's a very hot commodity online for scammers to have these cards. It's all about the money at the end of the day, even if it's money that comes in the form of an Amazon card. Pauline, they do clone Facebook accounts, and you know what? Sometimes they're hard to report. We've had that happen a lot where people have had their Facebook accounts cloned. It's a good idea to, if you're really worried about them doing that and contacting your friends, because what they'll do is they'll clone your account and then they'll contact your friends and say, oh, I've been arrested, I need money, blah, blah, blah. With your close friends, and I always say this, unless you're a celebrity, you shouldn't have 5,000 Facebook friends. The average person usually has 100 to 200, and they're people they know. If you're really worried about, someone cloning your account and, messaging your uncle or your grandma for money, the best thing you can do is tell your close family and friends, hey, if I ever message you on Facebook and asked you for money, a gift card, tell you something's happened to me, don't believe me unless I give you a secret code word. So it's really simple. You just tell your grandma, hey grandma, if I ever message you on Facebook and say I need $1,000 in iTunes cards because I've been arrested, ask me the secret code word. And so what you do is between you and your close family and friends, you make up a code word. It could be as simple as the word banana. And so if someone clones your account and they try to message, ask them for the secret code word, and then you'll know. That's the easiest way to avoid these kinds of cloning scams. As far as reporting them to Facebook, you can report them until your fingers fall off. Oftentimes, Facebook doesn't remove them, and that's just it's a luck of the draw, depending on who at Facebook looks at the cloned profile. So, but just keep that in mind, and also your family, your friends, so that if your Uncle Bob is acting weird and messaging you, calling you dearie and things like that, you're intelligent enough to know something's wrong. So when in doubt, block them. If you absolutely are worried about your uncle and think that he's been arrested and he's messaging you miraculously from jail through his Facebook, call him on the phone. Call his number that you know and talk to him. Don't believe a messenger message. So if anyone has any questions, we'll close this in a few minutes. Rose, you're right. I've had fake profiles who copy paste. So you'll be a 35-year-old woman, and the fake profile messages and says, "I'm looking for a man in my life," and it's a male profile. A lot of times they copy paste. They have pre-written scripts. They just copy paste and throw them out there. I've had scammers don't even listen to what you say to them. And as you know, when we chat as the old lady, we tell them the most absurd crap in the world, and they go, "That's lovely, dear." You could tell them that your husband exploded, and they would write back, "That's lovely, dear." So they don't read. A lot of times they don't. And the ones that don't read are great because you can make fun of them. So, Charlotte, you have a bit over 100 Facebook friends. All of them are my real friends. Same here. My Facebook profile, I have, I think, about 100 and some friends. They're people that I either know in person that I've worked with, relatives, or close friends that I know and that I've checked out. And yes, I do have friends on Facebook that are people that I've never met in person, but I know who they are and I know they're legit. So that's the best thing you can do. I see so many victims come to our inbox who have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 friends, and I ask, do you personally know any of these people? And they say, I know about 100 of them in person. The rest are just random people from gaming sites and different places. That's very dangerous. And I encourage everybody, social media, we have Instagrams, we have Facebooks, we have Snapchats, we have all this great stuff to share our lives. Make sure you know who you're sharing your life with. Look at your friends list. Once a month when you're sitting home watching TV, scroll through your friends list and see who the hell's your friend. You'd be surprised. You might get on there and say, I don't know who Bob Smith of the U.S. Army is, but he's my friend. And it could be a scammer. And scammers get onto your friends list. They don't always talk to you right away. They get on your friends list and they look what you post. They look at your family. They see who's talking to you. They friend your uncle, your cousin, your sister, your mother, and they stay like a silent mole on your friends list. And then one day out of the blue, 6 months later, you might get a message from this man saying, oh, hi, dear. We're friends, and I love this and this and this. How about you? And it's the same things that you like. And the reason that they know that is because they've been watching you, watching your activity, watching what you post. So always keep that in mind. Scammers do infiltrate friends lists, and they stay silent. We've had a lot of victims come to us and say, oh, this man's been on my friends list for a year. He's not fake. Yeah, he was fake, and he took all your photos, and he looked at your whole life, and they often do that, and that happens quite often if you're on a dating site. I'll give you an example. You're on a dating site, and you're from Oklahoma City, and you start talking to a man who's also from Oklahoma, but he's currently away in Nigeria on a peacekeeping mission. But he starts naming different things in Oklahoma that you know. And so you're thinking, oh, he must be real because he knew about this statue and he knew about this restaurant and he knew about this band. And scammers study victims, and a good scammer always studies their victims. So if a scammer sets his sights on you and he really wants to try and scam you, he'll learn about you. He'll study his prey. He'll learn what you like, what kind of food do you like, what kind of bands do you like, where do you work? Oh, she works at a cosmetic store. I'm going to look into this. And they study you. And that's unfortunately what they do. And a good scammer will study you. They will watch what you do. They'll know what you like and what you don't like. So always remember that. Just because a person knows about your town or your life doesn't mean that they're necessarily legit. Terry, I'm amazed at the funny things the old lady comes up with. I am too. I don't know why, and I don't know how. I just come up with stuff. I don't have any idea where it comes from. It's just random and crazy. So I'm glad you guys appreciate the voice chats. We're trying to do more of them, but it's tough. A lot of scammers don't want to talk on the phone anymore. So, Charlotte, what happened to the good old days when we didn't have technology? We had pen and paper and landlines. Yeah, but we also had scams then too. We had scammers that used to write from Nigeria and pretend they were gold buyers and things, and they would pen pal people in the States and ask for money. It's just that as technology grows, the scams grow and they evolve, unfortunately. And another thing you have to remember, you can talk to somebody online in Messenger, and you don't have to accept them as a friend. Like we have people say to us all the time, well, I had to accept him as a friend so I could get to know if he was a scammer or not. No, you don't. You can chat to somebody on Messenger and not be their friend. I've chatted with people on Messenger that I've not been friends with. So you don't have to friend them. And we tell people, don't friend fake profiles with your own real profile. It's a very dangerous thing to do. Why don't these scammers get arrested and sent to prison? That's a good question. It depends on where they're from. Now, we've even caught Nigerian police officers scamming with fake profiles. We've caught members of the EFCC scamming with fake profiles. Places like Nigeria, Ghana, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. It's kind of a lawless land. I mean, I know we see, articles about scammers that have been arrested. 11 Yahoo boys were arrested in Ghana for scamming. It does happen. They do get arrested. But the majority of them don't. And the reason is complicated. I mean, you have, let's say, 10,000 scammers in the city of Lagos, Nigeria. 10 of them a year get arrested. These scammers work in internet cafes. They use disposable cheap laptops. They use cheap phones. They download apps. They destroy the apps. They use different apps that, throw away email addresses and things like that. The thing of it is, you have a scammer. Let's give an example. You have a 21-year-old man from Accra, Ghana, who is scamming a woman who's using a disposable throwaway phone. He's using a Gmail account, which the IP when you pull off a Gmail account is going to be Mountain View, California, because that's where Gmail is located, Google. He used a money mule to pick up the money. And then they had that money mule put money into another bank account. Then it went somewhere else, and then it finally went to him. It's hard to trace. It's hard to track these scammers. It takes time, takes money, takes effort. The FBI doesn't have the authority really to go to Nigeria and arrest a scammer. They have to work with the EFCC. If there's someone in the EFCC that's corrupt, that case is getting thrown out the window. We're not going to pursue that scammer. The scammers live in places where scamming in I'll give you an example. There was a Ghanaian politician who said that he would rather see his youth scamming because they're making money than to arrest them. So when you have corruption at the lowest level to the highest level in politics, you're not going to get the results you want. IC3.gov is great for filing a report, but we've had a lot of victims say to us, well, okay, I filed a report with IC3.gov. When is my money going to come back? When is the scammer going to be in jail? And I have to tell them, well, probably never. IC3 gathers statistics. The FBI doesn't have the manpower, the money, the time, the priority to go after these scammers. So that's part of the reason they don't get caught. But more than anything, it's corruption. I mean, why are a lot of these African countries so poor? Corruption. Why are there so many scammers? Corruption. These youths, you've got 25-year-old man from Nigeria who has a college degree, who is very well educated, and I'm a lot of people argue with me about this, but Nigerians are very intelligent people. They're very well educated people, and that's what's dangerous is you have these 25-year-old kids with a degree in computer engineering, computer science, who are scamming because they know how to use a computer, and there are no jobs. There's a lot of corruption, and that's one of the reasons we have such an epidemic of scamming, and why there's very little done about it. Can things change? Yeah. Can Facebook and other places take part in it and be part of the change? Absolutely. Are they doing anything about it? No. So education is the only defense. Being educated about scammers is the only way to stop them. I hope that kind of answers your question. That's at least my opinion on why there's so many scammers. What happens when they do video chat with you and it shows their face, tell you about themselves, their real name, and they confess they scam? Scammers confess all the time. We've had hundreds of scammers confess. I've had scammers confess to me as the old lady. What they do, it depends on the situation. A lot of scammers will confess when they feel that they're not going to get any money from you as their fake profile. So they'll confess to you and they'll say, I'm sorry, I scammed. My name is so-and-so. I live in this country. Here's my real face. Let's video chat. I really love you. I want to be with you. And what it is it's a last-ditch resort to try to manipulate you and get money from you. So if they're not making money off of you with their fake profile, they'll confess. And they'll say, I've never scammed before. I promise I'll never do it again. I'm a poor boy from India. I have no money for food, and I've never scammed, and I'm in love with you. Please send me money. And people feel sorry for him and they send money. And then come to find out that poor boy in India that you're talking to is driving a nicer car than you will ever have because he's been scamming and he's continuing to scam. So scammers do confess. That's one of the reasons they confess. Another reason they might just do it just to see if they can get money from you. They just say, hey, they got money from you with their fake profile and they've done the scam, and then they think I'm going to come clean and tell you I scammed. And I'm going to tell you that I fell in love with you as my fake profile, but I really love you as myself, and I want you to know who I am. That's just another tool that they use to emotionally, physically, mentally manipulate you. So if a scammer confesses, it's not shocking. It's kind of common now, and we have a lot of them confess. It's their last ditch way to try and get more money from you. And they'll call you mom, they'll call you their lover, they'll call you their mother, they'll call you their sister. You're my family now. I really love you, mom. Help me, mom. I tried to scam you as a fake profile using a 50-year-old man's photo, but I'm really a 19-year-old poor Nigerian boy, mom. Will you adopt me, mom? In the meantime, that poor Nigerian boy who's talking to you as himself has 20 different fake profiles that he's scamming women. So, they do confess, and there's always a method to the madness. And we tell people all the time, a scammer is a scammer. I mean, I'm sure there are scammers that regret what they do, but the large majority of them are still scamming while they're crying to you saying, I'll never do it again. A criminal is a criminal is a criminal. If you let somebody into your house and they stole all your money and they come back the next day and say, I'm sorry, I really love you, you wouldn't let them back into the house. It's the same as online. So just remember that. And one more thing I want to address really quickly. If we tried to scam here in the U.S., we would get caught. Yes, we would. And because we have a different level of law enforcement, we have a different level of accountability than in other countries, unfortunately. I want to address something really quickly. People keep bringing up with me on the YouTube channel and on the page. And I've made 2 videos addressing this before, and people don't seem to watch them, or they don't care, or they want to argue with me. And myself, neither one of us are racist people. I have friends from Nigeria. I have friends from Ghana. I have friends from all over the world. I'm not a racist person. Anne's not a racist person. We cannot help where scammers come from. When we post fake profiles and real faces, these are scammers that have been, caught scamming. We've either found their profile or we found their real face or whatever. We can't help where they come from. Yes, a lot of scammers come from West Africa. A lot come from Nigeria. A lot come from Ghana. But keep in mind that there are also hundreds of thousands of scammers from places like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan. We're having scammers now coming out of Afghanistan doing romance scams. There's scammers in the UK. There's scammers in the USA. There's actually money mules who work for scammers in the USA. There's scammers in Australia. Malaysia is another huge place. Thailand has tons of scammers, as does Russia. The thing of it is all these scammers from all these different places do different types of scams. While we talk about all kinds of scams, we primarily deal with romance scams. Fake profiles, romancing men and women for money, gift cards, and other things. Unfortunately, a large majority of the scammers that do romance scams come out of West Africa. I can't help where they come from. You can't help where they come from. We post real photos as we find them. If they were all from Florida, then I'd have albums full of people from Florida scamming. But unfortunately, a lot of them do come from West Africa. So that's why we post a lot of West Africans. As I've told people before, if you find a scammer from a different country and you have proof that they scammed, I'm happy to post them. I don't care about the skin color. I don't care about their ethnicity. I care about what they've done as far as the crime they've committed. So for those of you, calling us racist and things like that, it's just simply not true. We post as we find them. And unfortunately, people don't bring us a lot of Americans scamming. They bring us a lot of West Africans, and it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. But that doesn't mean that all Africans are scammers. And a lot of you have posted things like, things like, well, they're all scammers in Nigeria. They're all scammers. They're not. And I'll say this once, and I've said it 1,000 times. There are very intelligent, hardworking, wonderful people in Nigeria, and wonderful people in Ghana, and wonderful people in all of Africa. Some of my good friends are Nigerian, and they're hardworking. They're in the medical field. They're great people. So don't lump a whole group of scammers in with one country and blame them all, because they're not. And there's a lot of scammers in other countries as well, and there's a lot of good people in Africa as well. Charlotte, I'll address your question. I'm trying to read the chat at the same time I'm talking, but and Rose, I'll answer your question as well. Here's the thing. Okay, you're asking why don't they make laws to prevent scams, like as far as in other countries? I'll say this once more, and I've said it before. Places like Ghana, I'll give you an example. One of the very famous politicians in Ghana has said that he does not want to address the scamming issue because it's bringing money and revenue in for the youth of Ghana. And that if they didn't have scamming as a form of income, they'd be running the streets, robbing, raping, and killing people. Scamming has made a lot of West Africans extremely wealthy. You have 21-year-old kids that are driving around in Bentleys, driving and living in million-dollar homes off of money that they've made scamming. The government, for the most part, would rather see their youth doing that than robbing or killing or robbing a store. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. There are laws, there are laws against scamming. Of course, Nigeria, Ghana has laws against scamming, but it's kind of the old adage of I will turn the other way. So, unless they're doing a large amount of wire bank fraud and transfers, a lot of the politicians, a lot of the law enforcement turn a blind eye because it is bringing in money for the youth. One of the questions Rose asked is, many people in South Africa are scamming. Why don't they get a good job? It's the same adage. You're living in a country that is in corruption and turmoil. I hear a lot of people write things, and I'm not defending scammers by any means, but I'm trying to explain to you guys why people scam in these countries. Let's give an example. You are a 21-year-old man from South Africa who has an engineering degree, where anywhere else in the world, in America, Canada, wherever, you'd be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But you live in South Africa, you live in Nigeria, you live in Ghana. Your degree is as good as toilet paper because there's no jobs. There's no way for them to make income. And so that's why they scam. And it's not defending them. It's not an excuse. It's the truth. They scam because there are no jobs. They scam because there is no place for them to work. We get this notion, we live in America and we live in places like, Canada, Australia, where you and I, if we needed money, and I've had a lot of jobs in my life, if we needed money, we can go across the street to the Subway, we can go across the street to McDonald's and get a job and be making money the next day. And it's true. In a place like Nigeria, they can't go to McDonald's and go get a job because 4,000 other people are already waiting to get that job. And so they found that instead of looking for a job, they can go online and scam and make money. Do some scammers do it for money and fame? Yes. There are scammers that do it because they want to drive a brand new Mercedes and they want the $1 million house and they want to make it rain and spend that money. And a lot of them do it just to be, scammers. They love it. Being a scammer is like being a famous person in some of those parts of those countries. And there are some scammers that do it because they literally have nothing other way of making income. So they scam. The only way it's going to change is if the politicians change, if they change the laws, if they change the economy, if they give something for the youth to do. And I get it. I understand that. But at the same time, is it right? No. They shouldn't be scamming. I don't feel sorry for scammers. But that's one of the reasons why they scam. So many people ask us, why don't they just go out to McDonald's and get a job? There is nowhere to get a job. So they scam. But like I said, you have some scammers that they do it for the money, the fortune, and fame. It's like being a rock star. I mean, you have scammers, and I know people laugh at this, but you have scammers that are half my age that are making $1 million a year scamming people. And they live like kings. They live like rock stars. They go into a nightclub in Nigeria, and they're famous. And a lot of youth, it appeals to them to do that as well because they want to be famous. They want to be, They want to be that rock star. They want to be that rich rock star. And unfortunately, that's why they do it. Like I said, the only way it's going to change is if the politicians change the laws, if they crack down on the scammers, if they give the youth a job, they give them something, there's less corruption, then you'll have less scams. But unfortunately, none of that's going to change. So the only thing we can do is be educated about scammers. We can block them. We can know what to look for. We don't send money. People ask me 10 times a day, how do we stop a scammer? Stop sending money. That's how you stop a scammer. You don't send them money. You don't send them iTunes cards, Amazon cards. You don't open bank accounts for people you don't know. That's how you stop a scammer. So, I mean, I hope that makes sense to you guys. As I said, we've had people call us out for being racist, and we're not racist. We're just posting what we find. So if someone has FaceTimed with someone and it's the person, but they have several people on their friends list that are fake, is a person probably a scammer? I gotta read that twice. If someone has FaceTime with someone and it's that person, but they have several people on their friends list that are fake, it depends. I mean, you know, if you've, let's put it this way, if you're talking to somebody online and you've FaceTimed with them and you've asked them to do something simple like write their name on paper and hold it up while you talk to them, and they've done that, then they're probably legit. But unfortunately, what happens is people become friends with fake profiles and they don't realize it. It could be one of two things. They could be friends with fake profiles and they don't know it, or they could be money muling for scammers. It could be either one. I always tell people, when you video chat with somebody, and you're like, I'm video chatting with you guys, tell the person, hey, do me a favor, write my name on a piece of paper and hold it up just like this. And if they don't do it, then it could be a video recording. So that's the best way to tell if someone's real or fake. Terry, who is the ringleader of the Yahoo Boys? Are they a syndicate or a gang? You know what? We hear Yahoo Boys and we think of like the mafia, and like there's just one godfather that rules them all. And maybe back in the day it was that way, but now the Yahoo Boys is a loose term for a scammer. So you can have Yahoo Boys. I mean, you do have syndicates. You do have Yahoo gang members that run a house full of scammers. You may have 20 scammers living in one little hut or a little cafe somewhere, a little apartment. And you have a boss that's running the group, and they take a cut of the money. But Yahoo Boys has become like an umbrella term for a scammer. So if you see someone say, hey, I'm a Yahoo Boy, it basically means that they are scamming. They are committing a wire fraud or fraud online. There's not necessarily a godfather that runs them all, but there are Yahoo Boys that are in little syndicate groups as well. You have to think of it like a gang. Like, you know, I grew up in California. We had a lot of gangs and stuff, and you'd have the Bloods and the Crips and the Norteños and all that, and you had little groups that ran the neighborhood gangs. It's kind of a similar way with the Yahoo Boys. You have gangs that run syndicates in certain neighborhoods and little things. But the term Yahoo Boy, anyone can be a Yahoo Boy as long as you're committing fraud. So I hope that answers your question. Anyone. It could be someone that's in a Yahoo gang, or it can be just some kid out in Tamale, Ghana who is living in his parents' apartment and he's committing fraud. He's not connected with anybody or anyone. He just scams for himself. He's a Yahoo Boy as well. But again, it's a loose term for internet fraudster. Rose, these popular people who are doing well in life and still they got the scam, why can't they be apprehended? I mean, I pretty much covered that. I mean, you do have some that are arrested, but you know, you have very well-known Yahoo Boys and scammers that are millionaires, and they're pretty much untouchable. They have more money than the whole government agency put together that's looking for them, and that's probably one of the reasons why they don't get apprehended. You know, I'll give you an example. I won't use his name, but there's a Yahoo Boy in Lagos who has been scamming for 20 years. His net worth is like $30 million at this point, and he has mansions and cars and all these things. And they asked him, they interviewed him. He's like a rock star in Nigeria. And they interviewed him. They asked him, why do you scam? Why aren't you caught? And he says, I have more money than the government agency that's put together that's supposed to be apprehending me. it all comes down to money and power. And if you really think about it, money is the root of all evil. We all want to have money. It makes the world go round, and these youths have found a way to make money and to live like kings, and they're going to keep doing it, and they're going to keep getting money as long as people keep sending it. And that's the best answer I can give you. If you keep sending money, if you keep sending iTunes cards, they're going to keep scamming. Simple. I asked because the person scamming my mom seemed to have different conversation styles. Some words were mostly emojis. I'll cover this real quickly. People that scam, some of them work in groups. And so you'll have 4 or 5 different scammers working on one account. So, I mean, I've had conversations with fake profiles where the next day it's a totally different person talking to me. That means you have different scammers working on the same account. So they're a gang. You might be talking to a 25-year-old college-educated scammer one day who's romancing you with beautiful words, and he spells everything nicely, and he's put together, everything perfectly. The next day, you could be talking to that same profile, but it's a 12-year-old uneducated dropout who uses emojis to talk to you and uses words like cause and, uses abbreviated slang. Those are scammers that work in little groups. So you'll notice that we've had conversations with scammers who tell us their life story. We talk to them, and then 2 hours later, they come back and talk to us, and they tell us a whole different story because it's a whole different scammer. So they do share accounts. They do work in groups like that. And it could be possible that your mother was talking to somebody who had 2 or 3 scammers on the same account. And it happens quite often. They work in shifts. They always work in shifts. And a lot of the scammers will be in groups, and they will do that. So if that's a good red flag too. If you're talking to somebody online and they're very intelligent, they're very well spoken, and then the next day you're talking to that same person and nothing they say makes sense, and they don't remember anything you told them, and they ask you the same crap question that the last person asked you, it's likely a scam, a profile that's being run by multiple scammers. So keep that in mind. And that's another thing I want to address real quick too before we close this Q&A, because it's gone on for a while. Let's talk about who are we talking to. I've had men and women who have come to me and been in a relationship with somebody who they thought was, let's give an example. There was a lady that came last week. She thought she was talking to a 57-year-old man who was an engineer who was working on an oil rig. And the photo that the scammer sent was a white-haired, very attractive-looking, model-esque-looking man. She had been in a relationship with him for 1 year. She had sent nude photos. She had had graphic sexual conversations with him. She had sent him money. He was going to come and see her. He was going to meet her kids, her grandkids. They were going to be a happy family. She went into great detail about how they would often have conversations late into the night that turned graphically sexual, and she sent lots of risque photos. When this was all said and done, she lost $30,000. She came to our inbox, and I have permission from her to tell the story, gave us the information. The money went to a 14-year-old Ghanaian kid. She was talking to a 14-year-old boy, and she was mortified, as anyone would be. This is very important. You have to keep in mind that scammers make up their age, and that handsome 50-year-old man that you could be talking to might be an 18, 16, 15. We've even seen 9 and 10-year-old scammers talking to grown women and grown men pretending to be adults. So the old adage is you don't know who you're talking to. And you need to always keep that in mind, even when you're in a relationship with somebody on the internet. Keep it in mind that you could be talking to a child. You could be talking to a teenage boy. You could be talking to a man who's in the army, and he could be a 40-year-old Nigerian woman or a 50-year-old woman from India or a 16-year-old kid from Ghana. So really and truly, the internet is a playground. You don't know who you're talking to. And you have to remember that even if you're in a relationship with someone there online, there's steps you can take. I'm not saying don't do online dating, because online dating is great. I've done online dating, as you see. It's great. But you have to know who you're talking to. So what we tell people, and I'll tell you again, demand a video chat. Demand you video chat with that person. If you want to have any kind of relationship with them, demand you video chat with them. When you're on video, as I've said before, Have them write your name on paper. If you don't want to do that, tell them, do something simple. Say, hey, what's up? What's that behind you? What is that? And a normal person will turn around and look, but a scammer won't. A scammer who's playing a video will just, a stolen video will just sit there like this and not move, or they'll shut the video camera off. So that's the best way to tell if a person is real or not. And honestly, if someone wants to be in a relationship with you, they're going to video chat with you. They're going to FaceTime. And if they say their camera's broken or their phone fell into the river or some other crap, you're talking to a scammer. And they do start young. And unfortunately, what you have is, when scamming, like online scamming first started in the mid-90s, you had people that would scam, and they were 30-year-old men mostly. Now you have anywhere from 9 and 10-year-olds, and you have to know that kids nowadays, I've seen children know how to use a phone better than me. So you have that youth of 9, 10 years old all the way up to 35, 40-year-old scammers, and you have that window. But as technology grows and people learn how to use technology, you have more and more scammers getting younger and younger and younger. And you need to remember that. You need to keep in mind that you never know who you're talking to. And so there's steps you can take. And when in doubt, if you need help, our inbox is always open. We're happy to help you. And as I said, Anna and myself are the only two that run this page. So it's me or her that you get. There's nobody else that works for us. There's no one else that answers our inbox. And if you need help, our inbox is open. So with that, I'm going to close the Q&A because it's gone on for a little over an hour. And I just wanted to wish everybody in America a happy 4th of July. The 4th of July is coming up in a few days, so stay safe out there. Don't blow up anything or light any firecrackers and blow your fingers off. So all of our friends abroad, thank you for joining us. We will be doing a YouTube live where we chat as the old lady. I've had a lot of you guys ask if we can do that. I'll try to do one tomorrow or the next day. I'll do a notification to let you guys know that we will be chatting as our favorite old lady, since you guys enjoy that so much. And as I said, our inbox is open if you need help. And our YouTube channel is youtube.com/scamming-scammers. And myself wish you a good night and stay safe. Keep the money to yourself. Don't give it to the scammers. Happy 4th of July to my American friends. And we will see you guys next month for our live Q&A. And those of you who want to join us later in the week, we'll be going on YouTube live later in the week. And again, if you need help, our inbox is open. We'll be working the inbox tonight as well. Take care. We'll see you guys next month. Bye.